mining business over its history has probably created more millionaires than any other business or sector, because you invest in mining because fortunes are made when you get an uptrend. That's the reason why this business is so exciting. And we haven't really had that excitement in mining for a number of years because of the downturn, because of the difficulties, because of the cartel and the games they've played and the issues and all the manipulation with the price of gold. But this thing's about to really experience an inflection point.
Hey guys, the gold bull is back. It's clear that things are changing as geopolitically, economically, and otherwise the world is in meltdown mode. I have back on the line Amir Adnani. He's the founding chief executive officer and a director of Uranium Energy Corp. And of course, he's the chairman and founder of Brazil Resources. And it's a real pleasure to have him back. Amir, how are you?
I'm great, feeling great. These are very exciting and interesting times.
Well, they certainly are. You know, the last time you and I spoke was back in December of 2013. We were in the absolute grip of the bear, the manipulation of precious metals prices and mining shares, of course, by the cartel. And now things appear to be breaking free. And, you know, I just interviewed Ivan Bebic, another mining executive, and we discussed the significant moves seen recently in the mining stocks. And, Amir, there's just no better example of that quantifiably than the GDX, the Market Vectors Gold Miners ETF, has moved over the last couple of months from 12 and change to 1977 in this latest chart. I took a snapshot of that on Thursday. I think we're very clearly back in a bull market, Amir.
We're back, and obviously, as any other time when the market returns like this, you see the large caps, as obviously represented by GDX, move first, and there's been big gains there. I was speaking with money managers here that are sitting on incredible gains year to date, having been invested in the large cap names. And I think this is what's very exciting now. But the juniors that haven't ran as much as the large caps, because the money always goes to the big guys first, and then once all the gains have been realized there, then it trickles down to the smaller names. But that, to me, is the next big move here, is the move that guys look to invest more, look for more gains in the sector. The junior space is about to have a real major cash infusion here, and the funds that have made all this money year to date on GDX, they're looking for more places and more bets to put down for exposure to gold.
I think you're right about that. And as you know, Amir, as we've seen in past gold bull markets, Wall Street money leverages the rising price of the precious metals by multiples, by going into the mining stocks. And, you know, we've been staying away from the mining stocks for a very long time. This has been an extremely painful bear market for anybody who's owned silver or gold mining stocks. But it appears the ship is turning, and it's turning very quickly. And the reason I wanted to have this conversation with you is because this may be a time to wade back into mining stocks, to leverage the rising price in physical precious metals, because that's exactly what the smart money on Wall Street is going to do. And I just want your take. You travel all around the world. What is your take on what you're seeing economically with money printing around the world? It's getting worse. It's not getting better. And now we see these criminal central banks talking about negative interest rates. That's just going to direct people more quickly out of fiat paper.
This is the first time in since I've been in this business where I see just incredible developments all across the board. I mean, first of all, the cartel. You think about what's going on here with the central bankers, and very simply put, they're just running down their arsenal. They're out of bullets, and so now you get this whole talk, which has obviously dominated it so far this year with negative real interest rates. This is a real issue. There's no jokes about it, and you look at sort of what it's doing for gold and why people are coming in. And don't forget, for the last 3 or 4 years, to some extent, we've had the only difference is the last 3 years. You had the tech bubble. You had all these other kind of things happening in the stock market where people just were ignorant to what was happening in gold and the importance for wealth preservation. But now, with this serious correction taking place in oil and tech stocks and everything, you name it, I think it's been a real recalibration of reality for the market and for investors, that why gold plays such an important role, or should play such an important role in our portfolios, and what it does for wealth preservation and wealth creation. And I tell you something else. I see such an incredible parallel here between what's happening. This might sound crazy to you, but I just see an interesting parallel here between what's happening in the Republican Party with Donald Trump and what's happening with gold, in the sense that we've had so many naysayers out there, right? You think about how Trump is this anti-establishment vote, right? And gold has been such an anti-establishment trade in the sense that you've had all these big banks, including Goldman, still, despite everything going on, Goldman is still calling for gold to go lower. And what is it doing? It's smacking Goldman across the face and going higher. And now Deutsche, the exact same way that Chris Christie came out and endorsed Trump the other day, Deutsche Bank now comes out and says, basically you got to buy gold, right? Time to buy gold. Deutsche, so the establishment, the same way they're finally coming to their senses, and in a way they're coming back around and realizing what is really going on with gold. So I think this is, we have not witnessed anything like this in the last decade. And the move here is just being driven by potential forces that I think are just greater than we've ever seen.
Well, I think that's an excellent metaphor, and it's interesting that you'd mentioned that about Trump, because what I'm seeing, of course, on CNN and MSNBC and Fox News is the parroting of the establishment talking points. And they're using that word specifically. The establishment hates Trump. The establishment is very upset that Trump is doing so well, and the establishment doesn't want Trump as the nominee. I think it's funny that you'd mentioned Goldman Sachs trying to tell people that gold's going lower, because there's no better example of the establishment, certainly financially and economically speaking, in terms of big criminal banks, than Goldman Sachs. So it's funny that you'd say that, because here with Trump, the establishment is saying if he gets the nominee, we're going to vote for Hillary Clinton. That's how upset they are. They want to take their toys and go home. And the same is true with Goldman. Gold is going higher. Everybody with a pulse and a brain knows why gold is going higher. And Goldman's saying, no, stop looking at gold. Gold's not going to go higher. It's going to go lower. Trust us. We're the establishment. And again, getting back to these negative interest rates, how can they even say with a straight face that gold is going back lower, it's going below $1,000 an ounce, when all these people do is print money, and now they're saying they're going to steal your deposits?
And, look, I mean, historically, gold has always done well when rates them. And so ultimately, you're not going to be putting your money into treasuries if it's negative. And you need to look for other stores of value, including gold being the major beneficiary of that. And look, I don't know whether it's denial, sour grapes, but going back to the metaphor, I mean, it's the same issue with Trump. Is you still have aspects of the establishment staying so stubbornly to the point that they're anti-Trump, the same way that aspects of the establishment out there in the financial world are anti-gold still, and just can't give it up, even for their own good. I think some of these guys might just get out, but you do see some of the big names come around again, with Deutsche, for example, and so anyways, it's historic, it's interesting, and I'm glad you're paying attention to it.
It's always a pleasure to talk to like-minded people about these things, because, our friends, neighbors, and colleagues aren't equipped to have these conversations. They don't follow the gold and silver markets. They certainly don't follow what the central banks are up to, and don't even understand what negative interest rates are or what they mean, what the implications are for their future. And the implications are frightening. Amir, the last time we spoke, we were in the grips of the bear market, right? And you guys have been taking advantage of the bear market pricing to benefit Brazil Resources. Can you just give us a brief update?
We've really expanded the asset base since the last call I had with you in 2013. Not only have we expanded it in Brazil, where we focus really in one state in Brazil. Brazil is a big country, obviously, and we've really focused in areas that we feel are underexplored for gold, where there's a substantial history of gold mining. And in this particular instance, we focused on Pará State. It's in northern Brazil. The area near a town called Novo Progresso, it's a gold mining camp, but most of the mining has been artisanal miners. And the artisanal miners have mined unofficially somewhere around 50 to 60 million ounces of gold out of this area over the last few decades. And in recent years, you've had companies come in with new modern exploration techniques to define resources, big names like El Dorado, all the way down to juniors. And so within Pará State, within this region, we now have 4 projects. Last time we spoke, we had 1. And all 4 projects have a 43-101 resource. in all categories. We have resources that would be just under 4 million ounces of gold in the ground. And some of our projects, like our South George project, which is just a few kilometers off of a paved highway with a power line coming into the project, you look at that project at 1.5 gram per ton for open pit mining. This is a project that would be, in our mind, a great candidate for further development and potential near-term production as we do more work on it. There was a historic preliminary economic assessment done on the project in 2013, but in 2013 it was done with oil at $100 and the Brazilian real at 2-to-1 to the U.S. dollar. Now you have the Brazilian real at an all-time low to the U.S. dollar. Oil obviously down by 65%, but a strong gold price and getting even stronger. So we really feel we've developed and acquired not only a larger asset base in Brazil of projects and gold resources in the ground, but projects that are also really viable and really can benefit from the currency advantage situation in Brazil with the devaluation there to the U.S. dollar, and also, again, lower cost of exploration and mining these days. But we've also grown the asset base outside of Brazil. We've made our first gold acquisition in the United States by coming into Alaska. We acquired the Whistler project. This project had roughly 79,000 meters of drilling. To put it in dollars for you, that's over $30 million of exploration. And we bought it for $1.6 million on stock. That's about 30 cents an ounce in the ground. And these are the types of deals that we think are really accretive on a per share basis. And these are the types of deals that we're targeting to do more of in 2016.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned the devaluation of the currency in Brazil. We can see what's going on in Venezuela there nearby with an absolute meltdown of the currency there in Venezuela. And we're seeing this more and more across the globe. And in fact, one of the people we talk to regularly, Andy Hoffman, predicts that the first world nation that will suffer hyperinflation is Japan. How are you guys able to take advantage of the fact that Brazil's economy is shrinking and the currency is under fire? How does that benefit you guys? Just give us the big picture.
This is one of the big themes in mining right now, in gold mining in particular. You have countries that were heavily dependent on exports of commodities, so Australia, Canada, Brazil, where big exports of iron ore and oil and base metals that are now, there's less demand for them worldwide because of China slowing down, etc. Those economies, Canada, Australia, Brazil, are shrinking as a result of that, and their local currencies are going down. But this is all happening at a favorable time for gold, because the gold price denominated in U.S. dollar has been rising, has been stronger, as we talked about earlier. So the cost of mining gold in these countries is more advantageous today, and there's an inherent saving because the local currency has been devalued, but you're still able to sell your gold in U.S. denominated currency. So you see and hear of this being an important theme in mining, where major countries where you have stability, where you know that the economy, in the case of Brazil, this is the largest economy in South America and Latin America. It's the B in BRICS countries. It's hosting the Summer Olympics coming up this year. So this is a major economy, and it's not just dependent on mining or gold mining, but its currency has been devalued to an all-time low to the U.S. dollar. Gold is a really serious beneficiary of all of this, and Brazil geologically has a very fabulous gold endowment. And so gold projects, especially in areas like where we are in northern Brazil that, again, are underexplored, you're seeing interest. You're seeing new companies get formed. We've seen a couple of deals get done in the last few weeks where the companies out of Canada, Australia are getting into Brazil, are getting into these areas that we're in already. And so, I think we're really well positioned. And don't forget, one of our biggest backers from day one in our company is one of the oldest investment banks and investment groups in Brazil. This is a group called Brazil Invest. They own just about 10% of our company. The chairman of the bank sits on our board of directors. That's Mario Garnero. He's one of the founding directors of the company. And to put it in perspective for you, these guys in the last 30 years have completed $16 billion in investments in Brazil. And they're really, not only do they own a substantial part of our company, but you can really count on them on being a great local partner. And whether it's for financial needs, political needs, permitting needs, We really have a great built-in partner there into the equity structure with their involvement.
We started the interview by saying the gold bull is back. And, if you take a look at the last gold bull market, there were many, many millionaires, multimillionaires made through mining stocks because, again, we see the mining stocks go up by many multiples more. Can you help people understand what it means if indeed the gold bull market is back? You said historically we've never seen anything like this. I agree with you. The money printing globally has never been this bad, ever, and it's not going to get any better. So if the gold bull is back, what does that mean to you looking 2, 3, 5, 10 years out?
When we have had roughly 5 very tough years in mining, I think we have to put it in perspective. It's been a tough grind in resource business and mining for a number of years now. And when things are so bad, people tend to forget that the mining business is a cyclical business. And it's been cyclical for as long as it's been around. The reason people invest in mining, in my opinion, is not to gain 10%, 20%. Mining business over its history has probably created more millionaires than any other business or sector because you invest in mining because fortunes are made when you get an uptrend. That's the reason why this business is so exciting. And we haven't really had that excitement in mining for a number of years because of the downturn, because of the difficulties, because of the cartel and the games they've played and the issues and all the manipulation with the price of gold. But this thing's about to really experience an inflection point. And I think this inflection point is something that, like you say, has to be put into context about the kind of fortunes and wealth that are created in market uptrends, in commodity cycles, and in mining. And this is what, when we look around and when we think about the history of mining, some of the biggest mining companies today actually were put together and emerged out of market downturns. The market downturns are always an incredibly good time to get the weakest players flushed out. Companies that have too much debt get flushed out. Projects that are just not competitive get flushed out. So you really are left with the best assets, the best projects, in my opinion, the best teams, best companies that survive these downturns and really are then best positioned for those uptrends. Anyways, I think you asked a great question in the sense that we tend to forget because we've had a number of very difficult years in gold and in the gold and mining related stocks that we must remember kind of what this means now and what this uptrend means, what this inflection point means historically, and the kind of wealth that is created in these types of mining cycles.
Yeah, that's right. And although we can't predict if and when the U.S. dollar might ultimately collapse, it's certainly losing its status as the world's reserve currency. What we do know is that if you had a treasure chest and you filled it with gold bars and you sank it at the bottom of the ocean, and that same treasure chest had an equal amount of fiat dollars in about 100 years, 50, maybe 10, maybe less, when those chests were discovered, the discoverers would be a whole lot happier with the gold bars than the fiat dollar bills, wouldn't they?
That's a very interesting imagery you just provided me with, but I think you nailed it.
Well, Amir, thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it. Can you shout out the ticker symbols and the stock information for Brazil Resources for folks?
Yeah, so basically Brazil Resources Inc. The Canadian ticker is BRI for Brazil Resources Inc. And the U.S. ticker is BRIZF, and that's on the OTC market. And the website where all this information can be found is brazilresources.com. And that's it.
Guys, our guest has been chairman and founder of Brazil Resources, Amir Adnani. Mr. Adnani, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And guys, thank you for your support at sgtreport.com and thelibertymill.com. Real news 24/7. Have a great week ahead.